The body's response to infection. An infection is the invasion of the body by pathogens that produce tissue injury or disease. Usually, these infectious agents are microorganisms such as viruses, bacteria, fungi, protozoans, or other parasitic forms of life. Not all microorganisms cause disease in humans, however. For example, the bacterium Escherichia coli, normally found in the lower part of the digestive tract, produces no symptoms of disease when maintained in that environment. However, when introduced to the body through the mouth by means of contaminated food or water, E. coli can cause severe diarrhea, vomiting, fever, and abdominal cramping. To protect itself from foreign materials, such as germs, your body has developed a sophisticated system for fighting off would-be invaders and eliminating pathogens that have penetrated the system. Part of your body's disease-fighting mechanism acts in general, non-specific ways to protect you from a variety of pathogenic organisms. These mechanisms include specific resistance, epithelial barriers, enzymatic action, interferon, inflammation, and phagocytosis. Another part of the disease-fighting system against infection is quite specific in that it protects against particular pathogenic agents. This part of the system provides a protection from disease known immunity. Specific resistance simply refers to the fact that human beings are resistant to certain diseases that may be lethal to birds, reptiles, or even other mammals. Similarly, diseases that can prove quite harmful to humans, e.g., gonorrhea, may be of no consequence to other animal species. Skin, the mucous membranes that line organ systems, and other epithelial structures act as mechanical barriers to potential infections. Furthermore, cilia, tiny hair-like projections such as those of the respiratory tract, sweep out invading organisms and help to prevent the introduction of germs to the lungs and bronchial tubes. Pathogenic organisms are susceptible to the action of certain enzymes contained in body fluid. Pepsin, an enzyme released in the stomach, neutralizes the effect of some pathogens that reach that part of the digestive tract. Similarly, an enzyme found in tears, called lysozyme, reduces the potentially harmful effects of many bacterial substances that find their way to the surface of the eye. A protein-containing substance produced by infected cells, called interferon, has excited scientists recently for its apparent role in fighting diseases, especially those caused by viruses. Interferon can be taken in by non-infected cells, which subsequently become protected against the spread of disease. Inflammation is another response of body to infection, although it can occur from other things as well, such as mechanical injury to the body. 4 things characterize the inflammatory response: redness, swelling, heat and pain. White blood cells generally accumulate at the site of inflammation and may form a thick fluid called pus. Once the infection has been brought under control, phagocytosis, or the removal of dead cells and other debris from the inflamed area by specialized cells, take place. These special phagocytic cells are of 2 types: neutrophils and monocytes. Neutrophils handle small debris, while monocytes engulf and digest larger particles. Monocytes also give rise to macrophages, phagocytic cells concentrated in the lymph nodes, spleen, liver, and lungs. Immunity is resistance to specific invading pathogens and the toxic substances they may release. Immunity involves several mechanisms in which selected cells identify the presence of foreign organisms and act to deactivate or remove them. An important role in the immune response play special cells called lymphocytes, which originate in the bone marrow. Before reaching maturity, these undifferentiated cells are released from the marrow and are circulated through the body. About half of them reach the thymus gland, where they continue to mature, for thymus-derived lymphocytes. Lymphocytes accumulate at certain sites in the body more so than at others, such as the lymph nodes and the spleen. Other undifferentiated lymphocytes released from bone marrow that do not travel to the thymus gland become B lymphocytes or B cells, for bone marrow-derived lymphocytes. They comprise the remaining circulating lymphocytes, but like their T-cell counterparts, they also collect in the lymph nodes, spleen, bone marrow, and other locations. Both T cells and B cells have receptors on their surfaces that can recognize foreign substances, known as antigens. They consist of the proteins, polysaccharides, and other substances comprising or produced by attacking pathogens. When antigens are identified by the lymphocytes, immune response against them can be activated. T cells and B cells do not respond to antigens in identical ways, however. Some T cells attach themselves to antigens associated with certain types of bacteria, interacting directly with the invaders. This T cell response is known as cell-mediated immunity. With some kinds of viruses, T cells destroy the antigens produced on the membranes of infected cells, interfering with the virus-induced disease process. There is more than one variety of T cell. T helper cells stimulate the development of B cells or other T cells. T suppressor cells inhibit growth of certain cell types. Killer T cells are able to destroy some kinds of cancer cells. This observation has led scientists to hypothesize that it is a disruption of normal T cell functions that contributes to at least some cancers in humans. To combat antigens, B lymphocytes produce and secrete substances called immunoglobulins, which are responsible for the production of antibodies. Immunoglobulins comprise the gamma-globulin fraction of blood plasma. Antibodies produced are carried by body fluids to reach with, and eliminate, specific antigens or antigen-bearing particles. This B-cell response is known as antibody-mediated immunity. Occasionally, people lack the ability to form immunoglobulins and cannot produce the necessary antibodies for the B-cell response. As a result of this deficiency, such individuals are highly susceptible to developing infectious diseases. Mullen-McDermott, Goldbell Castro. Connections for Health. 1996, pp. 394,300.